different energies. Hey,
Hey, what's going on?
good evening. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
So,
It's good to see you.
I was just telling people what it is
Yes.
going to be about. So let me introduce you, Ariel Kane, and he is into mindfulness and coaching, and he basically deals with non-duality and consciousness. So it's going to be a wonderful time today about Jyotish, astrology, like how do we peel off the old layers with astrology basically, and then how do we bring the light of love and everything. So let's get
Yes.
started. Are you excited?
I'm so excited too, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity for
Thank
us to
you.
do this
Thank
together.
you.
Yeah, when we met last night and discussed this, it was everything, really, it just reaffirmed the how the universe is working.
Right. Magical
Yeah.
moments all the time.
Yes, yes it is.
So, what we are going to basically talk about today is we'll start with how to get over anger and guilt, and then few things about like how do we exactly bring in the energy of love. Because sometimes we really get stuck in it, even if we are working in the field of healing and therapy, and even
Hmm.
other people are like, yeah, we get it, but how does it really happen? So we would be bringing that, and then there are special discounts coming up. So stay with us till the end. And
Yes,
definitely,
please
if
do.
you have any questions about anything, you could just type in here. I think people are still coming, so we could just start with a little more intro.
Yeah.
So, Ariel, what is your real experience like when you do this mindfulness coaching sessions?
Yeah, so my approach is really based on, my, I'd say that my master or my first teacher, when it
Mhm.
comes to meditation and really things of mindfulness and this nature and spirituality was my father. And throughout the years, I've had many different teachers, but the one that really has inspired me the most and really brought me to where I am today is Muji Baba. He's in Portugal, in Mantas and Haja. And so the teaching is based on Sri Ramana Maharshi. He was the early 20th century master, the Hindu master, who
Mhm.
who really brought forth the I guess his approach was really about the direct experience and really coming to understand oneself in the context of asking the existential question. Shakespeare asked this question, people ask this question, but then it's like, no, we'll get to that later in life.
We sort of keep postponing it until it
Yeah.
really hits us, and we have no option but to look at it.
Yes, 100%. And that question is, who am I and who is the perceiver? Who is this witness that is experiencing all of these different energies and perceptions? And
Mm-hmm.
yes, and many people do wait, like you said, people will postpone. And it's understandable, because it can really bring up a lot of different experiences and emotions and things that
Right.
may not have been dealt with. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, and so I've been practicing since the age of 6. I started in
Okay.
transcendental meditation, and
Mm-hmm.
then have explored almost just about every mystical practice and teaching that's out there. So that's what that's I've arrived to this moment today.
Okay. Okay. That
Yeah,
sounds really interesting.
yeah,
So, a lot of high energy is coming today to this live. You can already sense it a bit.
yes, yes.
So, if we have to go with this topic of anger and guilt, then what I have observed is those are actually two different polarities. Like how we see, like there's non-duality, there's the energy of love,
Hmm.
and so I feel it arises from judgment, like the guilt and anger. What do you think? Like the center of that is judgment.
For
Either you're
sure.
judging yourself, judging other people.
For sure, for sure. And I think feeling when one has this disconnect with really allowing oneself and accepting oneself in terms of the
Mhm.
emotions and any feelings of guilt or anger that's there. It's so easy. I mean, we hear this before, but it's easy for that to be projected on others throughout,
Right,
the living experience.
right. And with guilt, like I have a very weird example, but it's like when you're a 3-year-old, like you don't expect it from yourself that you would know physics and chemistry.
Hmm.
So when you become 12, you don't judge like your 3rd-year-old self, like, oh, you didn't know physics and you didn't know chemistry and the share market, whatever.
Right.
Then why is it so difficult for us that a failed first relationship or failed first career or a job experience really hits us so hard that when we move on from it or move out of it,
Hmm.
and when we come into different awareness, it's like, why did I do this? Why did I do this?
Right. Yeah. Beating oneself up.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
100%.
So actually, it's as simple as that. Like, would you, only an idiot would like judge, that a 3-year-old would never know physics and math, something like that.
Right.
So what I've seen is once you like release that guilt, then when you come to other people, you would be able to release anger as well.
Hmm.
Because universe is always like mirroring things to us. So same goes back to other people. Like, why did this person do it to me? Why did my boss did something like that? He should have understood it better. That is injustice. That's not right.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And
inner voice, the inner
yeah,
child, the inner voice speaking.
yes.
Yeah.
And even when like the person improves and happens to come back to your life, you are like, no, 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 you have hurt me and I don't believe you have improved. So what's actually happening is you're not letting yourself grow spiritually.
Hmm.
And in that process, you're not letting other people grow as well. It's like it's like some weird energy of judgment that no one is growing. And we
Yeah.
all are here to come to our natural selves and then we can ascend. So I find it so interesting and it happens so constantly, even sometimes with us, or like we get to see it via clients, that why, I should have known it better, or he should have known it better, and all the jazz.
Right.
Whereas it's just draining.
Yeah, yeah, and all of those things, when, especially when a person over a period of time, what I've just seen in my experience and with myself is that when
Mhm.
certain emotions aren't fully processed and it's not really understood exactly where is this coming from, and I think that the older that we get, the more, in a
Mhm.
way, I wouldn't say that we've become more and more distant from the truth of what the situation is, but there's so
Mhm.
many complexities. We have our day-to-day living, we have our experiences, and it's easy to get lost and say, okay, wait a minute, where are these emotions coming from? It's this, it's that, it's this
Right,
person, it's this person, it's that person. And so really
right.
doing the work to the processing. So how would you release some of these energies?
First thing is definitely acceptance. Like, if I have to put something in one word about Jyotish is the energy of acceptance.
Hmm.
So the job of an astrologer is always bringing people to acceptance. And the remedies are going to sound like very, very, very old school and day to day examples. Like, so if you have to release guilt, what you have to do is have good eating habits, like sitting on the floor and eating, like going really old school. I know like people know eating with hands, but that's optional. But when you like sit on the floor,
Hmm.
I mean, even when you're not eating food, or especially when you're eating food, it just feels so good. It's like the grounding energy, and like your sacral chakra can
Hmm.
release the guilt so easily. So, if I tell people this remedy that when they're really going through a heartbreak or a major divorce or a loss of a job, and I tell them sit on the floor and eat food,
They're probably like, what? They're like, am I speaking to the right person for this?
right? It's like they never expect that an astrologer would tell you something so basic
Right.
and then
Yeah.
actually get to improve the planetary positions.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing with the judgment, what I have seen is if you have a strong sense of self-worth and self-esteem, these two polarities would never happen, the extreme anger and the extreme guilt. So
100%.
if you want to grow your self-esteem, your self-worth, getting up early, at least like 6, getting as much sunlight as you can. And it really works. Like in 21 days, people have got jobs and they're feeling good. So it feels
Mm,
like this is like just lifestyle practices, but it's all connected always, like the universal energy. And we are the universe, and the universe
true.
is, it's all one.
Yeah, it's like we
And
were. Oh, sorry. Go
right.
ahead.
No, and for anger, exercise, dance, something like that. So it could actually feel like a yoga coach or a lifestyle coach speaking. But what tends to happen is we always know this. What I feel is as simple as saying sorry, excuse me, please, and thank you. We all know it, but it's like when the moment comes, you have to do it, and it
Right.
has a huge impact.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
as simple as that. Just get up at 6, do some morning walk, do some exercise, sit on the floor, and you will see the anger and guilt like going away. But it has to be consistent, and there has to be some discipline to it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we enhance the energy of sun, the discipline also comes. So yes, something very very basic.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've always observed is basically when we start changing and sort of like offending and we use different words, then the people around us are like, yeah, but you are like different or something. So I think, yeah. So so having this understanding that they are not trying to put you down, but you might be triggering different things into them, and just holding space for yourself and still continuing to grow, because it could be very difficult at those moments. And very certainly those people would also come into awareness after a few years. So then holding space for them again. So not getting distracted by your environment, because if you just start sitting on the floor and eating, your family is going to be like, what are we supposed to do with the dining table? And eating at night, I mean, you're skipping the dinner and everything. So we have to be very gentle with us and very kind with other people in this process,
Mm-hmm.
not get into like the whole spiritual ego that I'm a great person and something like that. So we all can have a peaceful transition. Do
Yeah,
you
you
have
know,
any specific experience on this?
yeah, so actually, I just wanted to go back to something there were a few things that you mentioned that I feel like would be good to kind of, maybe we can just dive into that for a second, is when it comes to the discipline and really the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is something that, part of just the westernized mentality and the Western civilization, that really having the patience for the process. We always hear you got to do the work, love the process, and this, and it's really, it doesn't mean it's always going to be a beautiful process, but
Yeah.
for me, I really relate to, you mentioned the old school practices. Is the thing about
Mm-hmm.
the old school, and for those who are listening, those who are watching, it's something
Mm-hmm.
to really take to the heart, is that it's really about the
Okay.
discipline, to getting the discipline and sticking with it, and facing oneself directly, and
Mm-hmm.
so, like, in 21 days of the practice, people, if y'all are going to be sitting on the floor and eating, processing one's emotions, good, like, can
Mm-hmm.
stick with it. And then also, like, I find that for me, there were times that, like, because I have a lot of energy, like I get very ambitious. So I'll
Yeah.
try something and I'm like, yeah, I got it. That's it. That's it. That's it. And then I remember, like, no, wait a minute. The discipline really is sometimes it's not a one and done situation, but The good news is, excuse me, it doesn't have to be a 30, 40, 50-year process of really
Right.
processing these traumas and processing these emotions. There are small things like like what you're saying, these lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
practices, that if done mindfully and done with the right intention, you can
Mm-hmm.
really, like, there's so much healing in that if it's done, not with the intention of, okay, I'm gonna get this. I'm
Right.
gonna possess, I know you speak about possessiveness, and we
Right.
definitely we connect on this. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
And sometimes what happens is like when we start any new journey, like when we want to work out or something, we just focus on like getting new clothes. So when people like first get into mindfulness or something like that, they expect something very fancy. And then when things like just get up at 6, because that is difficult. It's not
Yeah,
easy. And
yeah,
sitting on the floor and eating your food, that's also very difficult. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not able to do it every day. I try to be as much regular as I can. And even
Mm-hmm.
exercise, like even 3 times a week, it doesn't happen every week. So when
Yeah,
you actually do it, you're like, yeah, these things seem very easy and they may not be very fancy, but they're so rooted in our well-being and staying centered.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and natural, it's really natural. We're talking about natural medicines here. And
Yeah.
you mentioned about, meditation, and even with these practices, lifestyle practices, that
Hmm.
yeah, we want stuff quick.
Yeah.
And I put a video out this morning on this, that or the other day actually, the time is all mixed
Mhm.
up, but that a lot of people say, well, I've tried meditation and I've tried these methods, and why don't I have, the clarity? Why don't I have the awakening experience? Or why don't I have? And it's
Right.
really
Because
not a,
it's not about having.
exactly, it's not about having, because really it's already there. It's really coming back to
Yeah.
naturalness. Yeah. um for
So, to ask you now is like a
yeah.
billion-dollar question. So now, like all of us know how we get out of the judgment and the polarity of anger and guilt, which
Mm-hmm.
many people are really interested in knowing. That it just you have a different awareness now, or even as simple as when you go to a different country, like the electricity ports are different. Your charger will not fit in
Yeah.
there. So you have to be in a different awareness. You can't be like, oh, hi, that is not working or this is not working. So, okay, we have done like all the clearing, like the house is clean, we have discipline. So now we want to bring the energy of love into this temple. So how
Yeah.
do we really like become love and not like have it and do something, but just opening up the heart space and consciousness. So
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I love this
it's
question.
something concrete. I know it's difficult to pin down, but as simple as we could make it.
Yes. So I think that really when it comes to opening the heart space, that
Hmm.
of course all of this work begins with oneself, meaning, I know that a lot of people like to go on this journey, the heart journey, together with somebody else, but something that I would advise is that really, even if you're, in a relationship or a partnership, to take some time
Hmm.
alone with
Hmm.
oneself, whether it's
Right.
15, 20, 30 minutes a day, to do the work. And so there's a few different there's a few different ways. I find that that dance is actually very, very,
You
very
mention
effective.
that quite frequently, I know, the dance.
Yes, yes, dancing. And the thing about dance is that, I know a lot of people, even me, people have told me that I'm a good dancer before, but no matter how many times people say, oh yeah, you can dance, and no matter how many drinks people have before they dance, there's this awkwardness. So one thing that I would recommend is, with music, singing, and dancing, to throw oneself 100% into the dance, so much to where, the dancer is the dance. So if it
Right.
means that the lights are off and a person is, if you're in the room alone and the lights are off and you have your music, to really just go all out. I mean, really put all of your energies, put all of you in it. And
Mhm.
it sounds very strange, but the beautiful thing about this is that when we allow our bodies to move and we allow the movement and the energy, maybe there's repressed energy of trauma, guilt,
Like the
anger.
energy chains could get
Yeah,
sort of stuck.
exactly. And you can really release all of that. It's a very
Mhm.
cathartic experience. And so yes, and so really throwing oneself into the dance. And this is how I feel that some people can really get a self-reliance to rely on, to really trust one's heart, and also acceptance, like you say, the acceptance, accepting where
Right.
one's at, accepting the emotions, saying, "Oh wow, I accept myself. I love myself." You're sweating, and the heart is racing, and all of the body was moving in like a very wild and crazy way. But if
Mhm.
we can love ourselves in those awkward, you know, awkward moments,
Yeah. Yeah.
then that really allows the heart to open and explore many, many more dimensions of oneself. So,
Right.
yeah, that was a long answer for it, but
I remember you also mentioning like washing clothes with your hand, if I remember well.
yes, washing clothes with the hand. So this is really old school. We're going old school today. Yes, so I've also found that um to take a few items of clothing, one thing that I've seen is that for me, what I do is I choose one of my favorites, one of the high quality items, and then
Mm-hmm.
something of low quality, right? Because
Okay.
really, the purpose here is to bring one's awareness to not be picky and choosy, right? Because
Uh-huh.
sometimes being picky and choosy is what allows us to hide the guilt and move
Mm-hmm.
forward with anger, or to hide the anger. You see, because if we say, oh, well, I'm going to hide this part of my, I'm not angry and I don't feel guilty. It's this, it's that person over there. So that means that there's a split, there's a division. So
Mm-hmm.
even to do something with one's hands, like washing these clothes by
Mm-hmm.
hand, right? I know it sounds so wild, but washing them by hand, not only is it humility, but you're treating both equally. And this
Right.
process can be very meditative, squeezing out the water, taking one's
Mm-hmm.
time, really showing love and attention to one's clothing, one's shoes, one's,
Mm-hmm.
like in the room that I'm in now, what I do is like every few days I'll go and just making sure that everything is taken care of, because yeah, these things here are not living and breathing. But if we can
Right.
really take that sort of responsibility for your own stuff and the things that matter for, on a personal level,
Right.
then it can open up the heart to explore more with living beings and other
Mm-hmm.
things.
Like having a connection with the inanimate objects and thinking and really feeling that the life breathes in and out with them. So,
Yes, yes,
and that's
especially.
basically,
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, especially with the clothing, if we think from the perspective of, I would say even from like a Buddhist perspective, if we're thinking about the interdependence, like how the cotton, first the shirt, first you got to like you think like, wow, this started off as cotton growing in a field. Somebody
mm-hmm.
picked the cotton. The cotton grew because of
Connection.
the sunshine, the rain, the cotton. So really all of these things that we're
Wow.
surrounded with contain the entire universe and all of the cosmos. Really, you can really just see how everything is interdependent. And then that really can create a space for more openness and saying, okay, wow, so yeah, the connection is there. Living beings, anything, everything, all is consciousness.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Everything's one. We're all one.
everything is one. Now, there's also one more method. Did you have a? question? Were you gonna ask me something, or there's another method I wanted to?
Oh yeah, just we can go ahead with the next method.
Okay.
I don't have any question as of yet. We could just take it at the end.
Okay. So there is a very special practice by Atisha. Atisha was a Bengali Buddhist from the 10th or 11th century, and
Mm-hmm.
I think through history he was one of the only masters that he learned from three enlightened teachers, and so he created this method that is very, very powerful. It's called Atisha's heart meditation. And so the heart meditation, usually we think when we want to breathe in, like we want to breathe in love, breathe in acceptance, breathe in positive things.
Mm-hmm.
But Atisha, no.
The other.
Atisha says the opposite. And
Okay.
yeah, and the beauty of this is what it is so the Atisha's method is to actually first you start with oneself, one's guilt, anger, whatever the emotion is there, and you really breathe it in like for 15 minutes, taking deep breaths of inhaling and visualizing you're breathing in all of the repressed energies, the emotions of oneself, holding it in, and then breathing out the love, the joy, and the acceptance. And
Mm-hmm.
so the reason why this method is effective, and it sounds very different than what you would expect, but the reason why it's effective is because one is able to really fully face oneself, facing
Right.
the emotions that were repressed, and
Mm-hmm.
then using one's own heart to transform it, at least energetically, in mind and body and spirit, to transform it and release it back into, as positive energy, as love and joy, and as
Right.
freedom, and this also develops self-reliance, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you're using your heart as an engine. You're doing an alchemy process of transforming, using one, not having to go to somebody and say, give me the love and acceptance I need so I won't have guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's using your own body, and yeah, beautiful things can come from that.
Right. So one thing that I have always observed related to love is we sort of get very confused about being selfish and selfless and self-love. So
Mm-hmm.
in the process that you explained, like we breathe in the guilt, so we are giving love to the parts of us which were not loved before. So
Yeah,
that's actually a process of love. Like it's like a detox.
yeah,
And then when we
yeah.
say that, you're breathing out love, joy, and peace, because sometimes you could get a little selfish when you get into this love and self love and all this energy, and you could start treating other people bad, and you
Mm-hmm.
forget that they are also a part of you. It's like mirroring back to you. So when you, in the first step itself, hold them in the energy of love and acceptance, it kind of, the circle would be a complete circle. So that's like a very beautiful thought
Yeah, yes,
with
and I
the
and I really
inhale.
like. Yeah, inhaling that, and then, after, like you were saying about the self-love, for me, for many, many years, and even still to this day, it's something that, little bubbles of this will come up
Someone just
to.
said, as within, so without. Like,
I'm sorry, what was that?
uh, someone just said, as within, so without.
Yes, as within, so without. Exactly. Yes, on point. And then once, after 15 minutes of doing this transforming exercise of breathing in, one's own suffering and really transforming that outwards, then the next phase of the meditation, of Atisha's heart meditation, is to do the same thing with the intention of the entire world, of saying, I'm breathing in the suffering that's happening in this place. I'm breathing in for all of those who have, these emotions, and then using one's body
Mhm.
as the alchemy process. But of course, first it begins with
Right.
it begins with the person,
Part, love.
Yeah, it has to begin with the person, with the individual.
Right, right.
Yeah. So I,
So,
I have a question actually, about
yes.
this self-love. And so you were saying um, that sometimes, the love and self-love, we can get so like attached to being that it's like then anybody who tries to, let's say somebody does something that kind of like, I don't know, that pushes the button.
Mhm.
It's like, no, 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 I love myself. Get away from me. Like, kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
defensive.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, um, I don't know, like which ways can we make sure that we keep that spiritual ego in check, you know? I know we talked about this a little bit last night. Um,
Right. I what I feel like, I mean, people have different ideologies on that,
mm,
but like human experience, and again, if I have to bring astrology to this, is like there are negative planets as well, negative grahas. So Saturn and Rahu and Ketu, they're considered a little negative, like the north node,
mm,
south, and we all want the Venus and moon and everything.
yeah.
But it's like you have to have both. And with the whole spiritual ego, or someone like raising their voice at you, or they might do any harm to you, whatever. So one thing I was just thinking, it just came to my mind that like universe or god or creator, whatever we call it, he or she is so powerful, but still we have been given free will. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, we are allowed to choose either light or dark.
Uh-huh.
Like, we can do anything in any moment, and that's given to us by the ultimate creator. So, who are we when we try to reach the creator or try to embrace the creator's energy? We should be actually that as well. So, we should be
Mm,
freedom giving. We can't be like, you can't hit me, you can't curse me, and of course, you have to choose your response. But, like, the creator's first quality, if it is something, is freedom. So,
mm. Freedom,
then,
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well said. Very well said. And in that love, in that freedom,
hmm,
no matter how the freedom may appear, the freedom and love is just, it's like a package deal, right?
right,
It
right.
comes like it's a combination. You get one, you're gonna have the other.
Yes. And
No.
again, if we have to bring psychology to this, is many a times whenever we are in the moments of crisis, especially like anger or rage in interpersonal relationship, and God forbid with romantic partner,
Mm-hmm.
you're all about like, you can't raise your voice, you can't do this, you can't say this. And in this process, we forget that we are giving away our freedom to them.
Mm.
Like we still have the ability to respond,
Yeah.
and we are not letting them be who they want to be. We are not being who we want to be. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Oh,
know,
I'm
freedom is like,
learning this. I'm taking notes too. I'm like, I'm thinking about my marriage. It's a process. It's really a process, no matter where we are on this, on the spiritual levels and everything. It's really, yeah, it comes up in relationships, everything.
right. And
Yeah.
then like sometimes I ask myself that we only know light through dark, and it's all like a game of Maya, a game of illusion, whatever we call it. I mean, of
Mm-hmm.
course, we always have the choice. And if we choose consciousness, it's like choosing happiness for everyone. And why wouldn't we choose that?
Yeah.
But there are moments when we just like negative or weird things, I don't know. It's the human in us
Yeah.
that sweet and smiling for a really long time. Like the negative side also comes up. But like anger is also good. Like if someone is doing injustice to you, anger is good. Fear, fear is also good if you want to save your life. So even all these emotions have a positive side. So not discarding these emotions, but freedom.
Yes, yes.
I want to be
Yes.
free.
You know what? And the thing about this is, I think that a lot of times, a lot of people, mistake thinking that being spiritual or being on the path of, whether it's tantra or really any path, that you are dividing oneself to like, okay, so this is my good self and I'm going to hold on and possess
Yeah.
these qualities. And
Mm-hmm.
really, this is something that's very magical though about the universe and about consciousness, is that we see that there's light and darkness, that both
Mm-hmm.
can be experienced, both can be observed in a place of awareness and witness, but
Right.
that also means that both are accepted.
Right.
And this is
Exactly.
this is something, yeah, this is a very good point that you're bringing, you know? Is that
So,
where you
like rightly mentioned, like not resisting it and accepting it,
yeah,
because we cannot just start putting label on things, because had we not been in those situations, we wouldn't have been here. I mean, I'm sure like even
right,
you must have never thought that you'll be a meditation coach, and
right,
so
yeah.
it's the process that matters.
hmm Yeah, and there's a place, like you said, there is a place for some of these emotions. It's just if we can actually process it, to sit with it,
Yeah.
process it first, and come to a place where we can really, what is the word, to distinguish between
Mhm.
the right
Have
thought,
discernment but not
yeah, like knowing
deciding.
when to use it and when is what. Because
Right.
because without that acceptance, like you were saying, the love and acceptance of these things, without that, then
Mm-hmm.
we will just continue to be divided. The consciousness will be divided. Even though consciousness cannot be divided, we try to
Right.
divide it and say, oh, well, I can never be angry. I can never feel guilty. I can never feel shame. I can never feel any of these things. And it's like, this is consciousness. We can't possess the rights to say, you know? So, yeah.
Someone saying that they want to stop cursing when they are angry. So you just mentioned something that it's not about like doing or not doing, it's just about
hmm
being. And like to this, what we could say is it's again putting a condition on. Whenever I do it, I'm wrong and bad. But if we go to
Yeah.
the root cause of things, why are you cursing other people? Is it out of control?
We control whether we become the emotion. So this is a very good, yeah, Chancho McGee. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, making the distinction between, and I think this is where either, some mindfulness can really help, is
Right.
see, the question is there anything wrong with anger? Is there anything wrong with, yeah, I mean, cursing, it's not the most pleasant language to use. But
Right.
one has to first become aware of
Mm-hmm.
all of the different forces and the energies that are there, And then once you're aware of what you have, the toolbox of, conscious awareness, um,
Mm-hmm.
and how some of these tools may manifest themselves, then in the moment saying, what's here now? Okay, I am here. There's I, now there's a chance. Now a person can make a choice
Right.
without any distinction between one's own awareness and
Mm-hmm.
and and the thing that is being perceived. There's no, I'd say, there's a little chance for conscious choice.
Right.
In the moment when we have all of the emotion, it's like it's
Mm-hmm.
already, once the energy is going, it's very difficult to even like slow down enough to see what
Yeah.
is here now.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay,
with
you know.
something very concrete things like not cursing or cursing, like when we are growing up, we are told like, don't do this, don't steal things. And maybe out of curiosity, we pick up these habits, you
Hmm,
know. And
yeah.
anger, especially, is a very big attention seeking mechanism. Like, look at me. Like, you want the love from other people. So,
hmm
see where you're seeking attention from other people, and maybe they are not giving it. And anger is like, I mean, the emotionality has dropped like sort of so down that even if it's negative, it's okay. But just look at me, you know. That's the energy with anger. Like you're not
Look, you're
listening.
not seeing, you're not understanding me, you're not seeing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So mainly it's like the call for love.
hmm
But again, I mean, they have to follow all these practices in real life. Like one thing which I definitely see in the breakup, I mean, after breakup, how people help to move on from the relationship is knowing that people are free not to love you. And it's a big thing,
Yeah, it's a hard
to
one.
grasp it.
That's a tough
But
one.
it's okay if other people don't love you.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if that love has already been established in one's heart. If one becomes love, I was
Mm-hmm.
just sharing with somebody the other day that, you know, um, the light from the sun is not picky and choosy. It's not selective,
Right, right.
right? And so, a lot of times whether, if it's trying to seek acceptance or seeking approval or seeking love or seeking attention, then
Mm-hmm.
then the anger will come up, the cursing, all of those things will come up. But then when a person can actually, once we're able to process those emotions and
Mm-hmm.
accept you accept yourself, it all begins with the individual. Then it's like, okay, I choose love. Does it matter who the target is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is the target, are they listening? Are they ignoring me? Okay, well, the love is there. It's
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
and of course there
Very
are there are
strong.
boundaries. Um,
And one belief that could always help us is also having faith in this thought that the Creator always loves us and we're always accepted no matter what,
mhm.
irrespective of our body type and 10 million other things that we put conditions on. So there's always this energy which is there for you, looking after you. Because like when we are growing up, we have our parents like like a source of love, and as we grow we sort of start missing that source,
Yeah,
like, oh, only if I'll get a promotion I'll be accepted or something like that. But when we
yeah,
like connect with the divine and consciousness, you're like, no, love is present all the time, everything is
that
going to
part.
be all right always.
Yeah,
So
seeing what's here, seeing what's here in the moment, you know. It goes back to, like I was saying, the question, with Sri Ramana Maharshi when it comes to, what am I? I think that even before this question, sometimes this question is too, not only is it too direct, it can be a little bit abstract. So some other ways that people approach this is, what is here now, you know?
yeah, it's what you focus on.
Yeah, yeah, it's what you focus on. So true. Yeah, and if what is being focused on is brought into the present, is brought into the here now, then of course that's going to be it's like these glasses, right? So let's say I have these glasses, and without the glasses, I'm just me without glasses. But then I decide,
Right,
okay, today I'm going to try on well, no, that's too simple. I'd say, uh, focusing on what I don't have, or focusing on what I don't want, or focusing on the conditions. This is the
right.
condition that I need to be see. I say, oh, well, in order for me to see, I need this condition. And then I put the condition on, then everything is going to be color through the glasses, right?
Right.
So, yeah,
That was really apt. The example just now, like with conditions and without conditions.
yeah.
So we always have the choice and we always are free.
Hmm.
So could you just tell our viewers that people who couldn't join us or something, that what are the type of services that you really offer and how can they work with you? Like
Yeah,
what do
so
you bring in the sessions?
right. So for what I'm offering through Mindful Adventures is so two main services. Actually, I'd say it's really one service, and that's spiritual
Okay.
coaching one-on-one. And
Mm-hmm.
so the sessions are 75 minutes long. You can
Okay.
find out more on the website. It's amindfuladventure.com. That's
Okay.
www.amindfuladventure.com, 75-minute sessions. And in these sessions, I also include mindfulness and meditation. And so the reason
Okay.
the reason why this is because, going back to what we were saying about some of the old school practices, is that I find that this helps with discipline. This helps with creating that self-reliance, really being able to go into one's heart, go into one's emotions and feelings, it's critical for this type of coaching. And and for the coaching, it's for any walk of life, any path. If somebody is not even spiritual, it doesn't matter if
Mhm.
you're Hindu, Jewish, Christian, Buddhist.
Right.
It's not like you're gonna walk away from me like, oh, now I'm giving up everything. No. If anything, you'll be able to go back into it with freshness, with newness, with a zest and a passion for,
Mhm.
and really just with a conscious choice of choosing what you stand for in this life when you go back to work and when you go back to your religious practices. So there's the coaching, and then
Mhm.
satsang. And satsang,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
satsang,
yeah.
satsang is free. I
Oh,
would Yes, I would never charge for satsang. And so, for those of you who are not familiar with satsang, satsang is in Sanskrit, and it means true company. And please let me know if I know that you probably have a little bit of a better grasp of the language than I do. So,
yeah.
of this word in
But more
particular.
things are important, not the pronunciation. So of course we can all feel the energy.
Yes, yeah. But satsang, so satsang means true company. It really means sitting in a group forum. So
Mhm.
and for satsang, it's not so much, it's not about coaching necessarily, it's more of a guidance. I'm there to guide people through the inquiry, through
Mhm.
inquiring not only into one's own thoughts,
Mhm.
perceptions, feelings, desires, situations, story, everything, but also bringing it all the way, bringing it back to the person who is perceiving it, really to understand, okay, all of these things that are being experienced, all of the, whether it's positive, negative, whatever it may be,
Mhm.
there's the perception of the experience, and there's the perceiver. So satsang
Mhm.
is coming to know who this perceiver is,
Again, going back to non-duality.
to non-duality, exactly. And like breathing, after satsang, you go from non-duality back into the world. You just like breathing,
Yeah.
inhale and exhale, inhale, exhale. And so satsang
We
is free.
we need to
And
be prepared going back. Otherwise, it shouldn't be like, oh, we are all spiritual now, and how do I drive my car back home?
right, 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 and then go back home, and you see friends, and they say, hey, you're like just zombied out, and no, it's not even, nah, that's not going to be an option after the satsang. You got to get back to the realness, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but
Right.
on the website as well, you'll see the satsang. The next satsang session is going to be this Saturday evening, so it's free.
Okay.
Feel free to check it out. Also, there's going to be more satsang sessions virtually on Zoom, so anyone anywhere in the world can participate.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. I think, like even like little baby steps that we can take also could lead like a long way. So
Hmm.
being like you said, it's like the true company. Having the true company and sitting in the true company would always help.
Yeah.
So again, I have to talk about astrology. Like I offer consultations where people want to have like better relationships, better jobs, like better health. And also, what I really enjoy doing is coaching. So if people are in the process of being an astrologer, which I have seen
Mm.
like people having IT jobs or like from different walks of life, just like you were saying, they also join these programs and they really tap into the consciousness of grahas. Because more than anything, it's like uh, astrology could sometimes feel a little more like occult, is what I've seen from people. But what I help people is really tapping into the consciousness of grahas and knowing to its core, like what is Venus, what is Saturn, and
Yeah.
what it's all about, rather than
Hmm.
just being afraid and being fascinated and just willing to do a lot of remedies. So, yeah,
Very
making
nice.
astrology with counseling and really easy for people in today's life.
Mm. Wonderful. And you know, the thing about this
Yeah.
too is when it comes to
Someone's
astrology,
asking what is Venus. Do
what
you
is
want to
Venus?
answer that?
Well, this is a beautiful planet, one of the beautiful planets in our solar system. And actually, I was going to
Yeah.
say something about, the planets is when it
Mhm.
comes to astrology, I know that a lot of people have, especially, well, I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions or judgments, but some people have their different opinions um on whether it's astrology or meditation and things like this. But I think something that we will encourage anybody who's watching is to see that there's these really are different. I mean, you're an astrologer, you know better than I do, but these energies are really there to be explored, and how these energies manifest in everybody's life may appear differently, but to be aware of the energies that are moving, to be aware of the influence, and also, oh, he's a Virgo. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Leo.
Virgo, maybe like we can set up a reading with you. Chonkocho. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but
Yes,
like
I
better.
I think his name is if I'm not mistaken, is Jeremiah. Yes, yes. Yeah, he's a Virgo. So maybe this will be good for, if he's interested for y'all to connect. And, it's something, there's really practical applications for
Right.
all of these things.
It's actually very practical because a lot of times people are of these beliefs that like planets are so far from us, and how are they impacting my jobs and how are they impacting my health, because we are all one. And you know uh, like the cosmos or the cosmic energy creator is not really going to come at you like that,
Yeah.
because if it does, you're going to be like, you might be threatened or not going to understand it. So it
Hmm.
comes in form of energies of different celestial beings, and we have to go to that doorway first and then
Yeah.
move to further galaxies and further things. A lot of it is also from this belief of like Earth is the main thing, but we forget that we live in a galaxy, and there are
Right.
other grahas or planets just like us.
Yes, one galaxy out of billions, It's
Right.
really, and when one can actually take these things and ground them in self-awareness, you see that there is no boundary really between the at the
Yeah.
end of one's body, like where the skin meets the air, that this is only a very superficial division. There's really no
So,
division here, really no division. So to understand these forces 100%, I think is some great value in that. And also knowing how to
yeah.
ground it back to, awareness.
Right. Right. So, a quick note to everyone that Ariel and I are running like quick and special discounts. So, whoever approaches us first for any consultation, you're going to get like a joint and combined consultation from both of us. So, the first two people who approach us are going to get that, and with a
Yeah.
20% off. So, make
Yeah.
this offer. And again, if you want to connect to either of us anytime going further, they can always direct message you, right? Or maybe go on the website
Hmm.
and we get it rolling and reach out to as many people as we can.
Yeah. So are there
Any
any, I wasn't
thoughts?
I wasn't sure if we missed any questions. I'm sure you're keeping an eye on it. Is there anything that came up?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we have covered like there were just like two or three.
Ah, okay. Okay, great. Are
Yeah.
there any other question? Anybody have any questions they want to ask for the last few minutes of this live? Any life questions? Anything about your heart, emotions, how to enter the heart space, how to be free from all suffering and liberated, whole and complete.
Become 10 all the time.
uh,
I like those flowers in the back, the red
thank
color.
you,
Is
thank
it
you.
special? Did someone gift it to you, or did you get it for yourself?
No, no, I buy myself roses every week. Yeah, every
Oh,
week I buy myself roses. Yeah, so these are the latest.
and
Yeah.
red roses, I feel, have such a grounding effect, as well as
Mhm.
they have like the energy of love. So we have one question: what's the best way to incorporate love into ego? Ooh.
You want to go first, or you want me to go?
Yeah, you go first. I'll just,
Mhm.
yeah, because it's more to the consciousness side.
Yes,
So,
yes. Okay, so when it comes to love and the ego, being his own best friend, uh, oh, yeah, you gotta love yourself. That's number one. You gotta love yourself, and actually, that
yeah.
ties back to the question incorporating love into the ego. So I think that there's really a common misunderstanding that a lot of
Mhm,
people around the world have about the ego. When we say ego, you know, sometimes people say he has a big ego, she has a big
mhm,
ego. So what we don't realize is that the ego is really um, almost like it's a mechanism that can be used for the
mhm,
light or used for darkness. But the ego is a
mhm.
device that every human being on the planet, you will have this device.
Right.
Okay?
It's
And
the
so
identity that we have.
it's really the identity. So then the question really is when it comes to incorporating love into the ego, it's first
Mhm,
be clear on what you are without the ego. This is number
mhm.
one. So so I would advise, I don't even, let me see. Okay, well, the question already moved up. I would say though that first um to know oneself, free of identity, you know, if you can say, okay, so who am I if I take away my ideas about myself? You know, this is what the this is why satsang is important. You really need the dialogue in satsang to get to the heart of it. But
Mhm.
so first one has to know oneself, forget about the ego,
Okay.
and
Mhm.
then once you can discover that love, the inner love that's always there, the love that's here
Right.
and always present,
I would
then
just say that we
yeah,
don't have to bring love to the ego. Love is
exactly.
what all there is, you know?
There you
Like
go.
ego, it's just like thinking that there is no love.
Right. Yes. And then once the ego is activated, let's say you're going back into if if a person can be very clear on who they
Mhm.
are, forgetting the ego,
Mhm.
then going back into the world, going back into relationships, love relationship, work relationship, friendship,
Right.
then this ego will become a servant in service of you, in service of the love, not the other way around, you know?
Right.
Nowadays, everybody's working for their ego. They're working to
Mm.
get more and possess. And I love what you said. Everybody, you should check out Pranali's YouTube. She has some beautiful things
Thank
on
you.
unconditional
Thank
love.
you.
Like, seriously, this girl right here, she can tell you some things about love because when it comes to possessiveness, this is
Mhm.
not. This is not the way to go. And a lot of people think, okay, well, if I can just possess this relationship and it needs to
Yeah.
fit my conditions, this is not.
And what happens in that process is like you could become a doormat, you know, you just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everything as per your wish, and we
Hmm.
think that's love. It's not like your job is not to make someone else happy. They have to
Right.
find their happiness within them.
Hmm. Yeah, amen to that. So, yeah. Yes, yes. A good question. Great question. Let me see.
Yes, so even if you have more questions, you can always DM either of us
Yeah,
and approach us for the offer, and we'll even for the coming weeks we might get something excited for you guys rolling. So let us know what you want to talk about or things like that. So
yeah,
thank you everyone who joined today and have a
yeah. Thank you,
nice
everybody.
day.
Be well.
Thank
Namaste.
you.
Om
Namaste.
Shanti. Yes, thank you.
Bye.
All right.